Hello, everybody, and welcome to We Say Things, episode 10. My name is SunsFan, joined by syndereN. Of course, not only this episode, but this entire show, syndereN, is sponsored by the great Noble Chairs. Thank you again for that. How are you?
I'm good. And now it's very different because it's later for me, so I didn't really wake up for this.
Look at how bright it
you?
is in my room. Can you believe this?
It looks a bit darker for me, right? I don't know if you've been paying much attention, but
you look very
it's 9 o'clock
emo.
in the evening, so
Yeah,
I look
very
emo?
good. Yeah, very emo. You know, you're
Thank
in
you.
black and it's darker and
Oh, I see.
very nice. Anyway, yeah, we're on a new schedule, just kind of testing the waters. This one is definitely more difficult for me, syndereN, since I have to wake up, but it was my idea. So we'll see how it goes long term. Before we get started, of course, you can find the show on all the audio podcast apps out there, Apple, Google, Spotify, all the good stuff. And I'm going to get to a rant here in a second. But first, we're going to read a couple reviews. So here's the thing we're going to change up, guys. We got like 20 reviews since the last time, and we're not going to read all that. We love you. We'll probably just read your names real quick. But every week we'll pick our favorite comments, I suppose.
Favorite or random?
That's true. Mine are my favorite, and syndereN's are just random because he hasn't even read them yet. So this is going to be a new experience for him.
I've read some.
Okay, would you like to go first, or would you like me?
I think you should go first because one of them is really good, and then we can build off that one.
Okay, so the first, I'm going to do 3 since they're super fast. We got a 5-star review by Snow94 called Great Podcast. It says, I can't stand them reading reviews and basically giving each other hand jobs every start of the podcast. Thank you for the 5 stars, friend. Appreciate that. Which I want to talk about that a little bit because a couple people have actually said the same thing. They don't like this process of us doing that. And I never really thought about it, but I mean, at the end of the day, I feel like it's interactive with the fans. I don't know. I kind of like it.
I personally think it's fun. It's not to toot our own horn. Like I mean,
I'm
if
tooting
there were
my
no
own
reviews,
horn.
if there were no good reviews or no reviews, I wouldn't be
Right.
very sad, or I'm not like super proud. It's great to hear that you guys like it. You know, it's just encouraging. That's all it is.
All right, the next.
Just kidding. I'm rubbing one off right now.
The next one is from M. Cavone, another 5-star review. 1 step forward, 2 steps back. Suns fan was beginning to convince me that he was an upstanding citizen and a positive force in the Dota community. Then he got comfortable. Now I need to scroll real quick. Now I know for confidence he screams whores at high school girls while hanging brain. I was audibly gagging while listening to this. Keep it up. Thank you.
That was a really That was a really funny story, though. That was
Thank
great.
you, M. Cavone. And last but not least from my side is from Casworth, who says the title is Filth. And he says, I caught my grandson listening to this filth. Apple should remove this from my grandson's phone. If I could give 0 stars, I would. Thank you for the 5-star review. And your turn.
I'll do 2 more. I got one from Derek O. Another one titled Good, 5 stars. Here's your review, Suns fan. Get off my back. Thank you very much, Derek.
Very good.
I just agree.
I'm off your back.
And finally, to top off the good, we have one called from Cedar King Taken. Very good. Also 5 stars. Simple, thoughtful, and very good. Oh, there you go. That's basically
what you chose?
How I would describe myself in 4 words. Dude, we can't do this forever, okay? You took some like semi-long ones. I'll take some fast ones so we can get on with
we're
it,
super
all right?
fast. Okay, whatever. That's fine. Anyway, thanks to the other people that I don't know if I want to do this every time. We're going to do this one time maybe. DVO Gray Camel Polo Casual Dota Fan. I don't want to do this every time. Destroyer 2022 something THD France. Yeah, I'm not continuing to read that. All right, so my rant of the week, syndereN.
Okay.
Is related to the reviews, actually. So somebody informed me in my chat that apparently this is not a true Apple rant, by the way. This is just the Apple podcast rant. The Apple podcast review system sucks absolute ass. Okay, let's forget about the fact that for whatever reason, other podcasts don't have review sections at all, which is weird. But if you're going to have a review section... Now, did you know this, syndereN? Apparently, when I check iTunes, the reviews for our show... which I had to download that god-awful program, but that's a whole nother thing. But when I look at the reviews, it's only US-based reviews that I can see. If you go check, it's going to be Denmark reviews, apparently.
I mean, I've known this the whole time. I just wanted to see how long it would take before you would realize. So.
Okay. Well, thank
Yeah.
you. So, in order for me to view all reviews, either I have to go through some lengthy, god awful process, super ghetto, opening like literally hundreds of tabs for each country. Either I do that, which I will never do, or I pay as like a subscription to some service to do that for me, which is also stupid. What kind of god awful system is this, syndereN? Apple is the worst company in existence. Okay?
I think this is the softest rant I've heard from you because it doesn't sound like you're angry. You just sound really disappointed. Like
It's
like,
because
how is
I
this
just
even
woke
possible?
up. See, this is the difference between my rants at the end of the day and the rants when I just wake up at noon.
All right.
Does that sound fair to you?
Yeah, I mean, I don't understand why it needs to be this way. I think it's a really fair complaint. Like, why can't you read comments from everyone? It's a global world. You're making a global product. Why can't you see what global people think? Like,
That's right.
What the fuck? Like,
Global.
Honestly, it's really stupid.
All right,
Stupid.
so let's.
Yeah, we deliver to all countries.
That's right. Well, almost.
Almost.
I don't think North Korea gets our podcast. I could be wrong, but
If you're from North Korea and you're enjoying this podcast, go on an American VPN and leave a 5-star review. Thank you.
that dude. Of course, everybody would just be trolling, so now we don't know if it's real. You know, that's the problem. Anyway, going to Dota 2, we have a few topics I want to discuss. The first two, we don't have to talk about for too long, especially this first one. Weehaw officially on Liquid. We kind of talked about this a lot last week. He's had some showings, and he's done quite well for himself. Wind Ranger is back, apparently. Well, what have you thought about this edition?
I mean, he's mainly been playing 3 heroes so far because it's been a limited number of games, right? He's played Wind Ranger, TA, and Meepo, and he's been doing great.
Invoker.
His win rate's really good. Oh, he played Invoker game too. That's true. I think they lost that one though.
They did.
But yeah, they're currently in the top 3 of the major, which is a great result already with a new player like that. I think they're very satisfied. Their games have been looking really solid. They're playing great Dota. He seems to mesh very well with the team. Playstyle wise, he kind of it was kind of what we expected, right? That he would be a good fit. I don't know if I would have just called them to go straight through winner bracket to top 3, but I'm not too surprised that it looks really good, to be honest. But it's good stuff.
Yeah, so
definitely great so far.
I mean, we talked about this a lot last week, so we don't really need to go any further. But we both like the addition of Weehaw to that team, and it's showing already. Although there's a honeymoon phase to every addition, right? You never know. But like I said, I'm fully confident personality-wise, he's going to fit perfectly. I mean, their team is mostly Middle Eastern at this point, right? Or at least has ties to being Middle Eastern. Like even Kuroki's half Persian.
Yeah.
Miracle is Jordanian. What is GH?
He is from Lebanon, I think.
So he's Lebanese. Mind Control is Romanian, and then Weehaw is half Romanian, half Syrian. So it's mostly Middle Eastern, which is like since I come from the Middle East, obviously, and that's super fucking cool, actually. I didn't really think about that until recently.
Something that I haven't really seen people talk about is that Weehaw and Miracle actually played on a team together in the past. I believe these two players played together on Balkan Bears Corleone, right? And that was the team they played in before they both got discovered. I think Miracle got an opportunity shortly after that, and I think Weehaw got his too. I could be wrong. Maybe I'm wrong, and Weehaw actually replaced Miracle on that team. It could be. But they were definitely both tied. They have ties to that team, like in origination stories. That's kind of cool that they find their way to a shared team now, whether or not they've played before.
Mind Control is Bulgarian, not Romanian.
Oh, you said Romanian?
I said Romanian.
Yeah, I knew that.
Okay.
Weehaw's half Romanian, though.
Yes.
Oh, well, however you want to call it. Yeah.
I mean, his passport's Romanian. I think he tells everybody he's Romanian. When I saw he was half Syrian, I'm like, dude, I love you. I love Middle Easterners. Anyway, Matu. We talked about how he got kicked. Obviously, Weehaw was his replacement. He is now joining Chaos. So let me look at their entire roster here. We got Faded, VT Faded, who I don't know who that is, actually. Maybe you can inform me in a second.
Okay, go on.
That's their position 1. Matu, position 2. Kezu, your boy, at 3. Milan at 4. And Misery, the captain, at 5. So who's Faded?
So VT Faded is an SEA player. He actually almost made this major. He lost 3-2 in the finals. He was part of the stack of Winter that we talked about. That played 11 games in a day and lost the finals 3-2 in the major qualifier, and then they lost the finals in the minor qualifier too, I think. So really unfortunate. But VT Faded made a name for himself in that, and he's played one DPC event earlier this season as well, I think. He's just a really stable and solid carry player from the region. He's probably the best talent from SEA that's not currently in a team in his role. So I think he's going to make a good showing if the team dynamic is good, which is always something you got to speculate, right? Like you put players together from really different region. We don't have many SEA players playing in Europe. The only one I can think of right now is Mid1, who's doing great, obviously on Secret. But generally, Europe mixes with NA to make teams, and SEA make some ventures into China, as what we've seen with like Mushi and KP from Australia playing with Newbie and this kind of things. So, but yeah, we'll see how it goes for VT Faded. But it's a good
throws
name,
a wrench in there, right? It makes it a little bit more interesting.
Yep, for sure.
But in the European division, you're gonna have to update me on the DPC standings. OG has run into some issues. No Tail's been sick for several days now, so obviously we wish him well. We have no idea. I have no idea what it is. Do you?
Yeah, the word was that he got some pretty bad food poisoning. People are joking that the food poisoning was intended for Seb, obviously with the Russian drama, which is
I don't want to.
Is it too soon? Is it a good joke? Whatever.
I don't want to start a conspiracy theory here, syndereN, but I will say this again. I'm not making the direct connection. I'm just saying it is possible. What you're saying is actually true, because in sports, I know, like for basketball, since that's the thing I follow the most, there have been many cases where, like especially in the playoffs, where the visiting team has to be very careful what they eat, because you will be like poisoned to agree that, like one year deep in the playoffs, our coach was literally vomiting the entire game. He came to the game and still coached, but he was puking the whole fucking time. So that is a thing.
That's insane. That's actually it's just fucking insane.
But basketball is on another level, right? They take it more seriously.
This thing was just a joke. Like I personally don't think.
Right.
I mean, you never know, right? Like you never know. It could be, but I feel like the thing with Seb and the CIS scene was actually resolved pretty well. Like he did a really good job at trying to, make amends and make it very clear that it was 100% a mistake on his part. But yeah, you never know. But anyway, so the state with OG, we have a bit of an update on that since you wrote the sheet earlier, because OG actually just played against EG a couple of hours ago in the lower bracket best of one, and OG won with their coach as stand-in. So they're still in the running, and at this point, the changes that we have in the DPC standings is TNC Predator is guaranteed TI now, because they have managed to reach a guaranteed top 6. I believe they're currently in a game 3 to make top 3 actually against VG Gaming, which would be a very good result for them. Very impressive. Would be the first SEA top 3 this year, I think, apart from Fnatic's 3rd place in Dream League.
So where does that put OG?
OG are currently in 11th out of 12. And the 12th team is way below them in points, which is eHome, who are not even at the major. And above them is Keen Gaming. So OG and Keen, unless there's like a really specific set of circumstances that happen, they are like 90% safe, 95. Because what needs to happen is Alliance, Gambit, and Forward, 3 of these teams, or Alliance, Gambit, Forward, Royal Never Give Up. These 4 teams, of which Alliance face Royal Never Give Up in their next match, 2 out of these 4 teams need to make, I think, top 6, while OG lose their next match.
Right.
That's
so
what we're
unlikely.
Talking.
Yeah,
it's extremely unlikely. It's possible. They're not locked in, but the circumstances are like very, very, very unlikely. So they should be
okay.
So that's the story about that. The teams that have the best chance right now, where it seems likely, I think eHome will not get directly through. They are in the 12th slot, and the difference is if just one of Alliance, Gambit, Forward, or Royal Never Give Up make top 8, eHome is actually knocked down, which I think is not true. If it's specifically Royal Never Give Up that makes top 8 and they don't make more than top 8, eHome are 12th. That's the only way. If Alliance wins against RNG, eHome are out. If Gambit gets top 8, eHome are out. If Forward get top 8, eHome are out. I think that's what we're talking about. So it's like, or am I pulling this out of my ass?
This is one of those things where there's so many different scenarios and variables that there's almost no point in
Forward
speculating.
needs top 6. Forward needs top 6,
sure,
as far as I can see here.
I'll trust your math, bro.
But
how about
Gambit
that?
and Alliance need top 8. All right, there you go. It's a
how
lot
about
of
we wait
ifs and
a
buts.
few days and then it's all clear. at that point,
Yeah.
instead of speculation. But it does
Yeah,
make
why
it more
even
fun.
talk about who's gonna why talk about who's gonna get drafted? You know, let's just wait and see who they pick, and then afterwards we can talk about who they picked, right? Like, who cares? Like,
Well, but
stop
you're
speculating.
trying to calculate it live. That's my point. If you had done the math beforehand, then I would have no problem having this
Fair
conversation.
enough. I mean, I kind of did. I just made one mistake, but it's
Yeah.
fine. We're good.
Horrible mistake.
Okay.
All right. So moving on. Did you want to
Mm-hmm.
talk anything else about Epicenter for now, or obviously we're still in the midst
Well,
of
I
it?
think the
So
biggest story overall in Epicenter so far is Liquid are top 3 and TNC locking in. Those are the two big stories that we've seen so far. So I think
Yep.
we've got it covered.
okay. This tweet came out, if you're watching live, not, I think a few minutes ago, actually. Cyborgmatt tweeted the following. Haven't seen this mentioned yet, and I'm seeing lots of people asking about roster changes, etc. after Epicenter Major. The DPC teams were informed that, quote, invites to TI and regional qualifiers will be announced 1 hour after the conclusion of the Epicenter Major. End quote. Which means that any team making a roster change after Epicenter will have to go through the open qualifiers, with the only exception being the following. Quote, substitutes can be declared after TI qualifiers to account for emergencies, subject to approval by Valve. Do you think any team that qualifies for TI will make a change the hour after, like before that hour in
No,
which Valve
I don't
implements
see it.
things? Yeah, me neither.
I don't see it. So, yeah.
Now, if they did, they still wouldn't be allowed to go to. They wouldn't get directly invited, right? They just change their invite.
I mean,
I'm
if you're
assuming.
one of the 12 teams that is directly invited and you change a player, it's the same rules as always, right? You lose 20%. And then if you're still in the top 12, you're through. But if you are not in
Oh,
top
that's
12 after
true.
you lose that player, then you have to go open qualies. And if you're a team that's
Okay.
invited to the regional qualifiers, you can choose to kick a player and get a guy for opens. That's true. It could happen, but the teams that we're seeing right now at the major, I don't think any of them are going to make last minute changes. I don't think it's feasible to do.
Yeah.
Like, you don't even have time to practice with your new guy. It should literally be because your team's exploding,
Mm-hmm.
like your players just don't want to play with each other or whatever at all.
Yeah.
That's where we're at. So I don't think it's
Okay.
happening.
So that was a nice little tidbit from
Yep.
Cyborgmatt. And then the last Dota 2 subject that I want to discuss is, was this from a video? A Solo saying, quote, solo matchmaking is not real Dota. I feel like he said it in passing. It was probably in a video of Epicenter, I want to say.
I
And
think
it
it
was
was in an
clipped on
interview or
Reddit.
something.
So this kind of brought up an interesting discussion. I don't really think that that's like, what's the right word? It's not very it doesn't feel like it's a very drama filled statement, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
It's interesting to talk about, which is why I'm bringing it up. What are your thoughts on that? The idea that, like, the difference between solo matchmaking and playing on a team, because we see a lot of pub stars that never make it competitively.
Yep.
I just figured this would be an interesting subject to talk about.
I've talked about this on my stream in the past, actually, where I basically call pubs and competitive Dota. I call it two different games. So I'm 100% with it. I mean, I don't really. I feel like the statement is a bit dramatic. It's not real Dota, like, it's still real Dota. It's the game, right? But from his perspective, I think what he means with this is that it is not the same quality of gameplay, which is absolutely true, and it's a different type of Dota. So basically, a lot of the things that are very different when you play competitively, obviously, the whole team aspect, building personal relations, working together as a team, taking giving criticism, relying on each other, making calls, developing strategy. All of these aspects are not there in pubs. It's like you play with people in passing, and even if you play with the same players in the next game, you just pick different stuff. You just play. There's not the same, like, depth at all to it. Um, Part of the reason that a lot of the pub stars, if you will, don't make it competitively, there's a couple of elements. One is luck. Like, there are a lot of really skilled players, so you need to be the one that gets chosen and gets an opportunity. And even if you do, you could just have bad luck. You could be joining a team that on paper is really good, but they're just going through a bad time. They have internal struggles. You're actually playing fine, but it just falls apart. Or obviously, there's also the aspect, well, because the games are so different, it's not everybody who can transfer their skills. There are some high skilled pub players that are a lot worse in competitive Dota, like clearly worse than others, for a couple of reasons. First of all, part of what can make a really good pub player is abusing weaker players. If you are, like, reliant in your gameplay on destroying weaker opponents to win, suddenly you get into this competitive environment and you don't get those free 5 kills every game. Like the players don't make those mistakes that you're used to.
Right.
And the other thing is the whole mentality aspect. How do you handle pressure? A lot of people are not good at playing when something's on the line, when it's like a high stakes match for a qualifier, or playing on stage, or when other people are relying on you and you need to deliver for them. Because in pubs, you're like, it's like, win or lose. Okay, you lose MMR, but it doesn't feel like you don't feel guilty, right? To the same extent if you have a bad game. And all of those aspects obviously add up when it comes to pro Dota, right? And then on top of all of that, because everybody plays so much better, the way the map gets played and the way people think about the game, there's a totally different structure to competitive Dota. There's way less and way different types of mistakes than in pubs. So not just the guy who fucks up in lane and you kill him or whatever, but it's also understanding where to be on the map at what times, how to play around your teammates. In pubs, it's very sporadic, right? Sometimes it's just like, oh, there's a guy in this lane out of position. Let's just kill him. And then you get Roshan.
Hmm.
And in pro Dota, it doesn't really happen after a certain level. So yeah, that was a bit of a long monologue about it, but those are like
No,
the main
that's
points,
great.
I
I
think.
think I obviously agree with everything because we talked about this just a tad in the past. Coordination is totally different. Like if you're playing in a solo pub, I know that you try to coordinate, but it's still
Yeah,
not on the nearly the same level
not at
because
all.
half the team's probably not even listening anywhere. It doesn't even speak the same language for that matter. But there are so many different variables that go into it. The closest comparison I can make to traditional sports, since I love making these analogies, is with basketball. If you're playing like a pickup game or like a pickup game versus a pub, it's not even remotely close to a competitive setting. If you have like there's been a lot of players that are mechanically skilled that just never make it competitively. And if you look at like basketball, for example, you have people that are athletically gifted. Like they're more
Hmm.
athletically gifted than almost everybody, but they never do much in the NBA because they don't have that special factor, whether it is the dedication, the hard work to actually improve your game. They get complacent. They think they're good enough. They have too big of an ego. They don't get along with their teammates. There's so many small
Yeah,
things that add up that sometimes you just don't have it. It's just one of those
it's a team.
things.
It's a team game. Basketball is a team game, just
That's
like Dota.
right. That is right. It's
And
5v5 as well, syndereN.
I,
Today I learned.
true, true. I guess if you compare if you compare other sports that are one on one, like tennis or whatever, I guess there's a different aspect to it, but there's still overlap. Like you can be very athletic and gifted in tennis, but it's some of the same things apply, right? How do you play under pressure? I mean, maybe you're good at playing in your club and you're good at shooting the ball, but when you're playing against a player of a certain caliber that is just better than what you're used to, are you going to make unforced errors? Are you going to start doubting yourself? Are you going
Yeah.
to miss shots that you usually hit? All of these things. That's what's so fascinating and awesome about sports and competition in general. It's the human aspect, right? It's always there. It doesn't
Hmm.
matter what it is. People make mistakes, and that's what makes for cool plays, and it's what makes for memorable moments.
The
It's moments
mental
of mistakes and moments
aspect.
of brilliance, right? So,
This okay. This reminds. I hope this isn't too much of a tangent, but it's an interesting
mhm.
story. I feel like for basketball. Um, there's a guy named Markel Fultz. He was drafted number 1 or
Good friend of mine.
number 1 2 years ago. Okay, the number 1 pick,
Yeah.
and he was it a year ago? I can't remember. A year or two ago, whatever it was. He was drafted
Hmm.
number 1. He's a point guard, and for some reason, he got this immediate mental block in the NBA where he could physically not shoot anymore. Like this is for video people. Apologies to the if you're listening on audio, you can just look up Markel Fultz free throws. Like you could see his stroke, his shot in college just looked normal. He was a fine shooter. It was good. In
Hmm.
the NBA, like he gets this weird tick where his hand just goes out and he can't help it. So it's like this, and there was all these rumors about whether it's a shoulder injury, it's a mental block, him preventing himself somehow from like whether it's the stress of being number 1 pick because that's a lot of pressure.
Yeah.
Uh, it's a very fascinating story that we've never seen on that level for an NBA player, which is very interesting. Just the mental
Yep.
aspect of any of these games plays a huge factor.
Yep.
Um, but yeah,
And
he
and
got
it's
traded.
also just as a like final comment on it. It's also one of the things that I think is very. It's kind of it's underrated in a community sense. I think both in sports and esports is the importance of like just the team player. quality that you can bring to the game, because obviously what people see on the court most of the time, whether it's in Dota or in basketball, is they see the guys shooting the ball, but a lot happens off court, and it makes a
Mm,
huge difference. You can be a good leader, you can be a good friend, you can be a guy who's good at resolving conflict, and those personal skills, if you don't have a single player in your team that can do that, your teams have a tendency to just fall apart at the first sign of adversity, because nobody wants to fix those problems. That's why
yeah.
teams need coaches, or teams need leadership, right? And your coach can do a lot, but I think in any team sport, you need a leader on the field. Um, Whether it's somebody who says exactly what everybody needs to do and calls the shots, or if it's somebody who, just keeps the train on the tracks.
I mean that. So
That's
I
a
thought we're gonna.
huge aspect of these games.
The last thing that I'll say is, as a fan, from the outside perspective, before I became a team owner, whether it's basketball or Dota, it's the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
The morale and the culture of the team is so important. And I knew this, right? It's common sense.
Yeah.
It's obviously very important. You don't really know until you experience it, though. If somebody doesn't want to be there, or is toxic, or whatever the case may be, even if they're not like actively toxic, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? They're just like this passive aggressive type of thing. It can completely ruin the team chemistry. It's such a fragile entity that
Yep.
I didn't understand the extent of it until I saw it firsthand. You know what I mean? So
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. It's very interesting, and this is why teams are starting to get like psychiatrists, team psychologists, which it's great. I think it's really good for the scene.
Yeah.
All right, that is the end of Dota. So Dota Underlords, syndereN.
Oh,
I'm
here
not
we
gonna
go
lie,
again.
dude. I have
Now
been playing.
you look at like the rundown. You look at the rundown of the sheet, okay? You're like, there's one line Dota 2, Weeha on Liquid, one line Matu on Chaos. And then we get to Dota Underlords, 15 bullet points with elaboration, parentheses, correct capitalization. I wonder who wrote this sheet. Like, what the
Dude,
fuck?
I have been playing the shit out of this game. I'm not gonna. I
Yeah,
don't.
you love this game.
I'm trying to think of the last time. This is something people don't realize. I don't grind games, especially for like ranks, ever. I don't think I've ever done that before, and I did that for Underlords. So, as you guys may or may not know, the open beta is now out, so you can get it for free. It's on mobile, which on my phone runs great. I can't speak for anybody else.
Did you hear that, by the way?
No.
Okay.
Is there a problem? You okay, buddy?
No, that's just somebody driving by outside on a motorcycle or whatever. It was pretty loud.
I thought you were trying to describe a fart or something. All right, so
No.
there are 200,000
wouldn't.
concurrent players right now.
I would have aimed it at the mic, man.
I'm sure. Have you played it recently? I saw you play a couple games. What are
I
your
played
thoughts
2
on it?
games. My first game I got third to last,
Good.
and in
Good.
my second game I won. And then I was just like, okay,
Oh.
I have conquered this game. I ranked up, and I was
Wow.
like, okay, no, I'll play it more.
Great.
It's fun. It's very similar to auto chess, of course, but I think some of the design choices they've made makes it enjoyable on
Yeah.
a different level. I thought
agree.
it was nice to play.
So they came out with a version of Ranked, which is for beta season 0. So right now, if you want to start from the worst to the best, it's Upstart, Grifter, Outlaw, Enforcer, Smuggler, Lieutenant, Boss, and Big Boss. And within each badge, there are 5 levels, okay? So if you're Upstart, it's kind of the anomaly of all of the badges or the ranks. If you get 6 or higher, I believe is what they said, then you'll rank up. And then the rest are top 4. So
Yeah.
I grinded the shit out of this game. I got Big Boss somehow, which is shocking to me. The meta, as of this recording, is very stale. It's essentially, there's 2 strategies you want to place. There's 3 maybe. Hunters is like number 3 right now. Number 2 is Assassins, which is probably the easiest one to do.
Yep.
You never win with Assassins, though. This is what I've learned. You actually never win. You get top 3 every time.
I won with Assassins.
Okay, well, we're not considering Upstart, the noob bracket, okay?
Excuse me?
And then
I have a
number
really high
1,
hidden MMR.
number 1, should ask Valve about that one. Number 1 is Mage, though. They are ridiculously overpowered right now. But there is a patch today that will fix a lot of this, in fact, which we'll get to. So some things that they'll be adding to the game in the future are a full scoreboard, which Auto Chess already has. Social features like scrolling through the map, hearing other players fight, and full chat. I think the hearing of other players is occurring in today's patch. This one's interesting. Hero voiceover, like voice acting, that is unique to the game. People are
Oh,
complaining that there's no sound, like it is kind of quiet in the game, and there's no like voices for the
yeah.
heroes. They're not just taking them from Dota at all. They're just doing brand new ones. That's pretty cool, right?
Are they getting the same people though
I would assume. I mean, I
to
know
voice act?
one of the guys died. I don't know what
Yeah, that's what
heroes
I
he
was
did.
thinking.
I don't know who he did.
Oh man, I can't remember.
Was it Timbersaw or something? Maybe. I'm
Oh,
making
I
that
can't
up. I
remember
have
what heroes he did.
anyway.
Uh huh.
Uh, but so that should be pretty cool whenever that comes out. And then, like I kind of alluded to, the balance patch that's coming today. There's a lot of stuff changed. Coddle's getting a bit nerfed. This is the coolest one that I'll bring up since I don't want to go through all of them. But
Uh huh.
dragons are the worst class right now.
Hmm.
They're really bad. They kind of fixed a little bit where in terms of positioning, but right now knights, the closer you are to another knight, one square away, you get reduction of damage. So now you get that reduction, plus you get an additional reduction just for being a knight, which is interesting. So you can be alone and get damage reduction.
Wait, weren't you
Uh,
talking about dragons?
Knights, and then I'm gonna get into dragons. I didn't
Oh,
write
okay.
down the knights thing,
Gotcha.
but the dragon one is by far the most interesting because they're even worse than knights. It's part of knights, of course. You have to get dragon knight, puck, and viper in order to activate
Yep.
the dragon alliance, which would give you a free spell essentially. So DK becomes dragon immediately, etc.
Yep.
Now it unlocks a special ability, and you only need 2 dragons. So Dragon Knight +1 essentially is what you would usually go for, and it gives you additional abilities. So Dragon Knight by default now comes with Breathe Fire as his normal spell. Actually, he does not come with Dragon form. Puck comes with Phase Shift and Viper with Corrosive Skin, and when the dragon form activates when you have 2 dragons, then you become a dragon immediately. You, of course, already have the skills from Viper and Puck that are Illusory Orb and Viper Strike. So
Yeah.
these are very interesting changes to dragons that I think sound super fun, and I'm excited to
Hmm.
play. So
Okay.
and they're also changing boots. Boots are the
I'll
worst item in the game.
I think before we do the next episode, I'm pretty sure I will have played a decent amount more because actually I kind of want to play it as like a chill game in the evening when I'm done playing Dota, when I just want to
Mm.
relax and wind down. It's a great game to switch off your brain to. You don't need to think that much. That's why you're a big boss in it. So
Fuck you.
it's it's good for me. Tell me I'm wrong.
It's pretty true. I mean, it depends. Like if you catch on to the meta, like okay, the brain dead strat is assassins. Like it's so easy. You don't have to do anything. You just get
I
assassins.
mean, that's what
You
I
put 2
did. I was
druids.
like, oh man, I just need to get 9 assassin, level up, and I'm fine. And I just
Yeah.
beat everyone.
I mean,
It was
once you
very
get
easy.
used to how you're supposed to do it, because I think that takes some getting used to. Once you get used to like what level you're supposed to be when you start rolling, then it gets interesting. But the last one I want to
Mhm.
mention, the feature that they're going to be adding at some point, apparently, because they've been taking a lot of advice from the community, is turbo mode experimentation. That sounds very interesting. Do you think games are too long currently?
Um, I mean, how long are they generally? A game that goes far is more than half an hour, right? I
Yeah, it's
think.
probably like 40
L-
minutes.
long games are like 40, 45, right? So
Sure.
if that's anything to go by similar to Dota, we have plenty of games that go 40 to 45 minutes. And then people were celebrating turbo mode because it's really nice to just be able to play for 15 to 20 minutes. One of the problems that people had with Dota was that they didn't always feel like they could commit to a game. But sometimes you have that little break in your everyday life where you
Mm.
just want to chill with a little game and you just feel like, man, I wish I could play Dota. And then you can play the fast version. If this game has similar duration, I think part of the reason perhaps for battle royales as well, part of the reason they're successful is that it's so easy and quick to get that, that fix, if you want to call it that. That makes it sound like it's an addiction, but you're playing games
Hmm.
for fun, and if you have this short fun experience, that's nice. Like then you had fun. Uh, so I just think having games that have a duration of around this 15 to 20 minutes seems really popular right now in gaming in general. Uh, People that want to play longer games or like delve into a universe or whatever, uh, I think there's plenty of other games for that, right? Like RPGs, where you can develop a character over a long period of time and sit down when you have your weekend or whatever. But just for day to day, those games are not that good, right? Like you don't go in and play The Witcher 3 for 15 minutes. that's not,
I
you
did
don't
that.
do that.
I literally did
Yeah,
that.
well, and then you quit because you hated it. That's a different story. That's not the same thing. People that like that game don't find it rewarding to play for 15 minutes for the most part. I would say that
Hmm.
that's at least my opinion with RPGs. You don't play it for 15 minutes a day.
Oh,
You want to
yeah,
play it longer.
that's true.
But turbo mode for a game like this is perfect because this is a game that has a finite duration, and when it's over, you played your build, you saw if it worked or not, you had fun, and then you're done. And
Mhm.
I'm just a big fan of having the option. Like, why not?
I
It's
think the biggest
it's
factor
just good.
for that is the fact that it's on mobile. You don't want to hold your phone for 40 minutes. I can
Yeah,
definitely
that's another
understand
great
that.
point. Great point. You can play a game on the bus, right, or on the train. But
Yeah.
if it's 40 minutes, can I play a game of this? If it's
Yeah.
15, just get on the bus and play a game, right?
Have you tried it
So
on your phone, by the way?
no, I only played 2 games on PC so far.
It's very smooth. Uh,
Oh,
it
I heard it
in,
was lagging.
well, I think it depends on your. I have a Pixel 2, so it's good enough.
Okay.
It feels fine and it's very fluid, and it's weird that I feel like there's almost no downside to playing that over the computer. The interface is a little bit easier for me because like when you're choosing heroes, for example, you can still see the board. That's the biggest difference in the UI. With the phone, obviously the heroes take up the whole freaking screen. But otherwise,
Yeah,
I'm
true.
really impressed with the like how it feels. Although I'd still rather play on a computer because that's
Yeah,
just what I do.
Yeah, me too.
Like I'm not gonna be on my I'm on my computer literally 12 hours a day. It's like I really don't have any time to actually use my phone for that kind of stuff. So I don't leave the house.
Well,
You know.
when you take a dump, you could play a turbo.
So okay, that brings up an interesting. This happened on stream actually. Believe it or not. Nikki, she always brings me some food, and you know how I react to some food. And I was in the
Yep.
middle of a Underlords game, and I just had a diarrhea attack. That's what we
Yeah.
call it in the business. So I
Okay.
had to take my phone to the bathroom while I was streaming. I had to run to the bathroom, and I continued my game.
Wait, you can
And
start a game on PC and continue it on your phone?
correct, and vice versa.
Dude, that's awesome.
And then I came
That's
back.
great.
I was still in the same game. And I transitioned back to the PC. The only downside, and this is for you, Valve. The only downside to this is my stream could not watch me playing while I was taking my dump. We need to implement that feature. It's very
To have
important
it
for
running
those.
on phone and PC at the same time.
Like I can't. I tried spectating while it was on my phone. I can't do that.
Uh-huh.
So please add that for people with irritable bowel syndrome. All right.
Okay.
You don't want to
I
be
think
prejudiced
you're a
against
big
those
part
people.
of the market segment, so that
I
sounds
agree.
like a priority fix.
I know you're being sarcastic, but I would love that, dude. That sounds great. Okay. On to the fun section, Cinder. And this is going to be a short episode, actually.
Yeah. This is
which-
probably the first time in 10 episodes that we go below an hour like we were planning
Well,
to.
we'll
from the
see.
start.
We'll see how long you take on this. Do you want to go first or second on this one, by the way?
I'll go second, I think.
Okay. Are you sure? Because yours will be less interesting based on what you were telling me.
I mean, I'm fine
I'll-
with that.
no,
we can close
okay.
on a low.
All
That's
right.
cool.
Sounds good. That's syndereN's life in a nutshell. So,
Okay.
we wanted to talk about our mine at least, 5 favorite movies of all time. And it's not like, so everybody has different rating systems and all that crap. I'm a big movie watcher. I'm not saying what are the 5 best made movies of all time, critically acclaimed, etc. I'm saying what are my 5 favorite movies that meant the most to me, or that I enjoyed the most watching. Okay, that's what it means.
Mm-hmm.
I had a hard time narrowing this down, by the way. Apparently, you couldn't even come up with 5, but that's another story. So I have to give a special mention. Let me bring my list over here. Special mention to American Beauty. Have you ever seen that movie?
Yes, I have. It's my girlfriend's favorite movie, actually.
Wow. Okay. So I have that as
It was
probably
really
number
good.
6.
It's really good.
It went off the top 5 once Kevin Spacey issues came in. I'm just kidding.
See. Yeah,
No,
she has the same dilemma, actually, kind of. So
He was my favorite actor, actually. I was crushed by him becoming an absolute creep. But either way, that's number 6. So number 5, it's the only one on my top 5 list that has bad ratings on Rotten Tomatoes, actually. It's with Steve Carell and Keira Knightley. It's called Seeking a Friend for the End of the World. Have you ever heard or seen of this movie?
Never heard of it.
It's really fucking good. Apparently,
Okay.
I think the user reviews were very good, but the critic reviews were bad. But
Uh-huh.
I've watched this several times. It makes me cry, Cinder, literally. I really love this movie. It's
Oh.
very good.
I've never seen you cry, actually. You haven't seen me cry either. So
Why would I have? When would this have
I don't
happened?
know. I don't know. You could have cried tears of joy, for example.
No.
That could have happened. No, you
I'm
don't.
trying to
We
remember
don't
the
have
last time I
emotions.
ever cried tears
Real
of joy.
men don't have emotions. Okay.
No, that's not true.
No, it's really not true.
So that's my number 5. Number 4 is Interstellar. I think this is kind of one that everyone kind of knows about. I'm guessing you've seen it.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
I haven't seen it, but I know about
What
it.
is wrong with you? Seriously, watch good movies for God's sakes. So Interstellar,
Sorry.
an amazing sci-fi movie. I like I know there's some things that are not technically realistic, but in terms of sci-fi, I like the realistic kind, like The Martian, for example. Like things like Star Wars, Star Trek, depends on which movie it is, but they're okay. But like even Marvel stuff, like I don't like it when it's super unrealistic. But that's just me.
Okay.
Number 3, which is the one I'll probably talk about the most, is one that I think is criminally underrated. Amazing reviews for it. It's called In Bruges. Have you ever seen it?
No, I've
It
never even
has.
heard of that.
I know most people have not heard. So this is for Americans. I'm going to spell it out because I know a lot of people don't know what the heck that is. In is the word in.
Yeah.
Bruges is a city in Belgium. So Bruges. It is such a god tier fucking movie. I can't even begin to explain. If you guys have heard of, like, there's a couple cult classics like Snatch, or what's the other one? Lock, Stock, Smoking Barrel, whatever that movie's called. That people absolutely love those movies. It's similar to those, except 10 times better. It has the best dialogue of any movie. It's hilarious, and this is the one of all my top 5 that I would highly recommend for everyone to watch because I think everyone will like this movie.
If
It's
if
really
that's a
good.
parameter for your top 5, we might actually share one, but we'll see.
I don't think. Well,
one
maybe
of your last
this
2 might be shared with me.
Yeah,
We'll
this
see.
next one probably is shared. Number 2, Matrix, the original.
Oh, that was not. I have actually watched that. I was so young. I can't remember. I feel like I remember it being really good, but I only watched the first one, and I don't know. When did that movie come out?
1999, I think.
I think I
Something
saw it
around
on
there?
the year it came out, so I was 9 years old. Like
Yeah.
I just remember it being cool, but you can't really appreciate movies to the same extent. But
I remember walking out of the movie and being like, "What the fuck did I just watch?" That is, and it's probably the most disappointing series too, because number 2 and 3 just were god awful, like horrifically bad.
were they that much worse, or were you older and
No,
then it wasn't so cool anymore?
They were just that much worse. Like
Okay.
the directors were named the Wachowski brothers. I think one of them got a sex change, if not both, actually. So now they're are they the Wachowski siblings? I don't even know how to. But anyway, they make weird ass movies, and if I look at their history of movies, I hate almost all of them, except for the original Matrix and V for Vendetta. Those were amazing movies to me.
Okay.
I assume most people have seen it. And then my number 1 is one that a lot of people might not like. It just meant a lot to me when I watched it. This was in college. I was living alone. It's called Garden State. It's like
I don't know if that has.
It's like I guess you can call it a coming of age movie, kind of. It's about like a guy that kind of breaks out of his shell, and that was kind of what I was doing in college. I guess that's my best explanation for why I love this movie. I think it's hilarious. I think it's really well done. It has Natalie Portman, Zach Braff. But Garden State is easily my favorite movie of all time. I've seen it like 15 times at least. Which have you seen a movie more than one time ever in your life, Cinder?
I think the most I've ever seen a movie might be 2 or 3 times.
Wow.
I think maybe I've seen one movie 3 times, but
all right, give me your list, bro.
Okay, so I want to just quickly preface this with what you just said. Like, I don't really rewatch movies.
You're weird.
And what that means is, if I have a really good experience, which I have plenty of, I really get immersed in movies, and I love watching movies. I'm not the kind of person that does it a lot, but when I do watch a movie, I do enjoy it. It's not like I don't do it because I only play video games or something. But because I don't really rewatch movies, I can have had a great movie watching experience from, I don't know, N years ago, and I will not remember the name of the movie anymore, but I remember the feeling I had after watching it, whether it was like being blown away or being emotional or, this
Mm.
kind of thing.
Okay.
So I have had plenty of good experiences, but I don't remember a lot of the names. But there's a couple that stand out. I will do them in reverse order, I guess. I will do my number one first because I remember watching this movie and I remember thinking to myself, this is the greatest movie I've ever seen, and I don't
Mm-hmm.
feel like it's been overtaken. And that's Pulp Fiction. And I thought you were going to put that on your list
Ooh.
because the
Hmm.
dialogue in that movie is fucking amazing.
It
I
is.
loved
It
that
is.
movie.
Very good movie.
So that takes my number one for that reason. Then it's going to get a little more boring just because again it's off memory. Okay, I've seen movies, but it's about what I can remember. I really liked, especially at the time, Lord of the Rings, the first movie, probably takes my second place. I think it was the best of the three, probably,
Okay.
uh, because I know for a lot of people, they think number two is the best because they're like, this 45-minute action sequence in Helm's Deep and whatnot is so amazing. I feel like it's the worst part of the whole series of all three movies was the
Wow.
Helm's Deep fight. Because for me, when it comes to movies, I like story, I like character development, and I like, yeah, those two things way more than I like
And Best
action.
Picture went to the third one, interestingly enough. So,
Yeah, but basically, so when I watch scenes in movies, sometimes I'm like, okay, this is cool, but you could have told the same story in 1/3 of the time. It's like we had this Game of Thrones episode this season. I'm not going to spoil too much in case people haven't watched it, but there's one episode that is so much fighting and so little character development and so little story. And
hmm
I watched this episode and I was like, it's really well done. I can see why it's artistic, but man, could we have followed some storylines instead of spending 1 hour on this? Like, could we have seen some more that you ended up cutting out?
yeah.
That's kind of my opinion. And that's what I felt about Lord of the Rings, where, for example, did you read the books?
God, no.
Okay. There's a character that I loved in the first book when I read it, called Tom Bombadil, and he never appears in the movies. And
Wasn't he in
he
the?
could have, for example,
I thought he was in the
he,
Hobbit. I read the Hobbit.
yeah,
Wasn't he in the
he
Hobbit?
plays a pretty. I don't remember if he's in there, but he plays a pretty significant role actually in the setup of the first Lord of the Rings book.
Mm-hmm.
He has a pretty big chapter and is a great character, but he never gets introduced in the movie because in the grand scheme of things, he's not that important for how they get to the end goal. But he's
Right.
cool for the character development, and it's just a funny chapter. But he got cut out, and that's the kind of thing where I'm like, could we have had this guy in the story and then cut out 20 minutes of Helm's Deep? I think it would have been better. And then the third one, and I think people are going to hate me for this, and I don't think this is one of the three best movies I've watched, but I remember having a really like being very emotional after it, which was kind of weird. Because when you think back on the movie, it was Avatar, and this movie was not
What
like
the
objectively.
fuck?
Listen. The movie
What? Get out of
objectively is
here.
not. It's not that good, right? The movie objectively is not that good, but the
Okay.
experience of watching that 3D and the
Mm-hmm.
way it worked for me that was the first like 3D experience I had where I felt okay, 3D really did something here. Because I've watched other things in 3 dimensions, like okay, like yeah, there's a little bit here, but I actually, in that experience, for me personally, I thought it made a huge difference in my like immersion and how I felt emotionally
It's like
connected with the characters.
you're
But
taking your favorite movies and then combining your favorite experience in a theater, despite the movie being. I wouldn't say it's a god awful movie, but it's not
mhm.
great.
No,
Let's be
but this is
real.
what I'm saying, right? The thing I remember afterwards is like the thing that I connect most with the movies, rather than the quality of the movie itself, is how I felt afterwards, right? Like that's what I'm saying because I have probably watched I don't know how many movies that I would say objectively are better than Avatar, but they're
Mm-hmm.
less memorable to me just because I didn't have the same like type of experience with it. That doesn't mean I think it's the third best movie of all time. Like I'm not gonna say that
Right.
because I
So
could,
you
if I
only have
could
two favorite
somehow
movies then.
retrace my memory. If I could retrace my memory, I could find 10 at least that I watched that I would place above it. Maybe 20, maybe 30. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't watched that ridiculously many movies in my life, but it's about whether I remember them or not.
Because I still
Um,
consider 3D a huge gimmick. I've never had a great like. I
no,
don't get
me
I don't get
neither. Like
motion sickness or anything, but like I've never been like, I'm not paying $10 extra to go watch a movie in 3D. It feels like a
so
waste.
something I'm quickly gonna do is I want to give a couple of honorable mentions, but this is not off memory. I was like, okay, because I don't remember the names of movies, I'm gonna go to the IMDb top 250. I'm
Uh
just gonna
huh.
scroll down and see which ones I've watched and which
Yeah.
ones I remember really liking.
Okay.
And there
Shawshank
were a
Redemption, is that
couple.
still number one, by the way?
That is still number one on the list. I have not watched this movie. I've
What is
actually not
wrong
watched
with
it.
you, dude? Dude, you need to go on a movie fucking watching marathon.
I know,
Holy
like,
shit.
every time I talk to people about movies, they're like, "Wow, you haven't seen anything." I'm like, "Yeah, I've played Dota my whole life." that's,
I'm a
that's
nerd.
me. That's my life. So okay, on this stuff that I really liked. Actually, I don't know if this is on here. And again, I don't remember the exact name of it, but I had a phase where we were doing some film noir studying, I think, in media and in high school.
Mm-hmm.
And I think there was one of them, but I don't think it's here on the list. But there was one of those movies. I think I watched 3 or 4 to write a paper in university, actually. And there was one that was really good, but I don't think it's here. The Departed is on this list. That was a really good movie.
It's good.
Definitely agree with that being up on top 100.
I mean,
We
I feel
had,
like Leonardo
let me see.
DiCaprio is a god, by the way.
He is very, very good.
He's in a lot of good movies.
Django Unchained was great. It's another.
I was gonna mention that, like, my favorite like, I love Pulp Fiction, but my favorite Tarantino movie is definitely Django Unchained. That's probably a top 10 for me. Really good movie.
Yeah, that was really great. American Beauty, you already mentioned. That's also in here. I want to just mention 1 or 2 more, then I'm done. I had
Usual Suspects with Kevin any Kevin Spacey movie, if you can get that creep stuff out of your head, it's really good. He's in a lot of good movies, for sure.
A Clockwork Orange. Man, that's been forever since I saw that.
I don't think I've ever seen that.
Is that also very good?
Is that the Jack Nicholson?
Oh, I think I might have just found the one that I really liked from the 1944 Double Indemnity. I think that's the one. Or how do you pronounce that? Indemnity or Indemnity?
Indemnity.
It's called Double Indemnity. Yeah, that movie was
not Double
great.
Jeopardy.
Double Indemnity. That was very, very good.
I have never heard of that movie.
I think it's the most famous film noir. At least one of top 3.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure.
Interesting.
About that. I feel like there was one more I saw on the list that I missed now. I think it was also a Tarantino movie, but it was not Reservoir Dogs.
Do you like chick flicks, syndereN? You look like an emotional guy. Like things like The Notebook. The Notebook's great. Great movie.
But I really don't mind emotional movies. I get really, I get really immersed in movies. So
all right. Watch The Notebook, bro. It's a classic. Great movie.
Okay, I think
your girlfriend loved it.
Everybody's gonna fucking hate me for saying Avatar from just the memory. I remember very clearly. I remember very vividly actually how I felt driving home. And the best way I can put it into words, it's kind of weird. I was very emotional. Which is weird because the movie, I mean, it's kind of emotional, but it's not like, super like, but it was this feeling of, man, this world was so amazing and now I'm disconnected from it. And I think the reason I got so immersed was that the 3D worked as well as it did for me. So I really felt like this universe is so fucking cool. It's like when you're in a video game and you fucking love it and then you then you go away from the screen, you're like, man, I just want more of this game. I fucking love this game. That's how I felt about that universe. Not necessarily like the story, but just the visuals and the universe there was just incredible for me.
That's interesting. And you've never seen it since?
That's kind of the only film that I have that with, though. That's what's interesting.
Have you ever seen the movie again?
Avatar?
Yeah.
No. Well, I've watched a little bit. I've watched a little bit of it again on. I think it was just running on my roomie's TV at the time. I watched a little bit of it again.
This is one of my favorite movies. I've only seen it once though, so I don't.
I mean, it's not one of my favorite movies. That's what I'm saying, right?
I know. It's weird.
But even my favorite movies, I don't know. I don't know if that's weird. I can't be the only person in the world who's like, this movie was really fucking great, but I'm not gonna watch it again. Because like when you watch it again, you'll be like, I've already seen this. That's my opinion.
Okay,
like,
so there's plenty of movies where I'll watch it and I'll say this is very good. I would never want to watch it again. But that also means it's not one of my favorite movies. If it's one of my favorite movies, I'm gonna want to watch it several
masterpiece. Times. I love Pulp Fiction, but it's like if I want to sit down and watch a movie, I'd rather watch something I haven't seen before and get a new experience.
But you don't even do that. You haven't seen shit, Cinder. You just play Dota. Get off your ass and well,
it's not
I guess
true.
You need to be on your ass.
We
and
went
watch
to the
movie.
cinema and saw the Pokemon movie recently, and it was pretty good.
Oh my god! All right, I'm not gonna. I don't know anything about Pokemon. My girlfriend made me go watch it. It was good. And the reason it was good is because Ryan Reynolds makes everything good. He is a literal god. Okay, that guy is amazing in everything.
He's good.
But the fact that you've seen that over every movie that I mentioned in my top 5, other than Matrix, makes me disgusted to the core. I just need to tell you that.
Oh man, it's always so funny how how passionate people get about movies and how
Yeah,
much they
of
think
course.
other people are stupid or wrong. It's like,
They
I
are
don't
stupid.
care.
So
It's fine. It's great that you enjoy that movie, but come
by
on.
the next time we talk, I want you to have watched In Bruges. I guarantee you will. I guarantee everyone will like this movie, and it's something that you may not have heard of before, which is partially because of the name. I would think. I don't know, but it's if you like good dialogue in movies and funny dialogue, it is really really fucking good. Anyway,
Actually, you know what? Since we're talking over, we've still got a little bit of time. Okay, we're not even on an hour. Let's see.
yes,
Do you like westerns?
no,
Okay, because there's 2 of the top 100 are actually westerns, or even
very
3,
interesting.
I think. No, I was curious if you liked it because I don't. I think it's something that people are very torn on, like how you rate these kind of things. So
Well, what do you mean? No, there's no such thing as a western anymore. These are all old movies. They don't
yeah,
come out
this
with
one's from
westerns anymore.
It's number 37 on the list. Once Upon a Time in the West, 1968. It's number
That's
37 on the top
I
100.
said that's an old movie, dude.
Yeah.
1960. Yeah.
I know. I asked you if you like westerns, and then you're like, they're old. That's not an argument for anything. What do you mean?
All right. I'll admit to
I
some
can't
bias.
like this because it's. Why didn't you say that with Double Indemnity? That's from the fucking 40s, dude.
Because I never heard of it before. I've never seen that. I've never seen Citizen
I was
Kane.
curious.
Okay. I think something bothers me with old movies. The way they talk really bothers me. They
Because
talk
it
like
feels
this.
so
It's
forced,
very
or-
fake voice acting. It's just
I see.
very. I don't know. It's something I can never get over. But yeah, and I feel like a lot of people
It's
that are
true, though.
younger than us
That's
don't want to
big
like. Even The Matrix might be terrible to them at this stage. I don't know,
Mm-hmm.
which is a little sad. But
The question is, do you think actors got that much better, or is it just the style, like the expectation of what a movie
Both.
should be like, that changed?
both.
Okay.
I mean,
So you
there's
think
no
if
way.
you could take one of the most brilliant actors from the 40s and resurrect them, they could also be a star today,
No, they'd suck ass.
or no? They would
They'd
be
suck
terrible because
ass,
they
yeah.
don't have the skill. That's
I
what
think
you
so. Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, it's just
That's
like
interesting.
it's just like any sport. Think of Dota. You take somebody from TI1, Dendy from TI1. I guarantee you, you take that person. He plays now. He would beat a literal 2K pub terrible player. Literally
Yeah,
2K
that's
pub.
maybe exaggerated, but
2.5K pub. Okay?
come on.
whatever the
There's no
MMR,
way.
it's low. Okay, they wouldn't be very good compared to back then. It's because of the progression, the evolution of skill and knowledge throughout the time, right? So you can say that for literally any craft, whether it be sports,
Yeah,
esports,
for sure.
or acting or whatever. Bagging groceries, I'm sure people are better at bagging groceries than they used to be as well. So the only thing that has not evolved is your watching ability of movies. Sounds like it's just been consistently god awful. So you're gonna have to work on that, my friend.
I wish I could somehow find out how many movies I've watched in my life compared to you. Like, I would be genuinely curious.
Yeah, I wish I had
Like, what
kept track
factor
of
it
this.
is.
I mean, it's gonna be
'Cause-
quite large. So
How much? Okay, ballpark me here. How often do you go to the cinema, or how many movies do you watch a year? Like, just ballpark. What do you think?
just not theater, just movies in general.
Just movies in general. How many new titles? Okay, or just movies you have not seen before. How many
Not seen be- oh, that's different then.
Non-rewatch.
Let's see if I watch. Let's say on average one a week, maybe. So 52, let's say.
One
A
new
year?
movie a week.
I don't know if that's true.
Holy
Like
shit! Dude.
if you
Okay.
like lately, that's definitely not been true. But I feel like in college, I was watching like a movie every single day, literally. I didn't do any studying, by the way. Stay in school, kids. Don't be like
I
me.
just found Shutter Island on the list. That movie was also really good.
I love that movie. Yeah, I've
I
actually been
forgot
meaning
the
to
name. That's
rewatch
when.
it.
Yeah, I forgot the name of that. That's also really high up for me. That was great. But again, see, that's what I mean. Like, I didn't remember the name of the movie. I remember liking a movie that had that like story, and then if you try to explain, everyone's like, "Oh, it's Inception, right?" No, it's the other one. You know.
Well, Inception's also quite good. Yeah.
So
All right.
I don't
Anyway,
think I've watched that one.
I think we can wrap up this movie talk.
I mean,
I think
I could mention a couple more movies that I haven't watched that would trigger you if you'd like.
okay, please.
You actually want it?
Dude, I could use
We're
a
good.
pick me up right now. You know, no,
We're
I
good.
think next time. Do you watch TV shows?
A bit. Like, for me,
this
okay,
is-
so here's the deal.
Do we
Actually,
need to
this
have a
might be-
guest
No,
to have
listen,
a
this is-
conversation about TV
no,
shows?
listen, this is the thing. I actually think this is the one reason. This is the reason why you watch, or the primary reason I don't watch that many movies is that for me it's a social thing. I don't watch movies alone. I
I
never sit down
prefer
and watch a movie
watching
on
it
myself.
alone.
I never sit down and watch a movie alone, and I never sit down and watch a TV series alone. So everything I watch is either going to the movies with my friends or watching a series or a TV show or a movie on the couch with my girlfriend. So that is, I
Why
guess
is
that
that?
has a pretty big influence. I don't know. If I'm alone and I want to entertain myself, I prefer to either watch streams on Twitch or play video games. That is my go-to. I have more of a desire to do that than sit down and watch a movie. That's just
I
how
mean,
it is. That
if
doesn't
you
mean I don't like movies.
if
I
you
just
go to
don't
the theater,
prefer.
you might as well be
Oh,
alone, though, right?
there
I mean,
is
you're
one
not talking
exception.
to anybody during
One
the movie.
exception. I always watch movies when I go on transatlantic flights. That's the only time I watch movies alone. And that's because I'm
So,
sat there and I need something to entertain myself with, right? So
so
then I will
most
watch a
of the
movie.
movies you watch in the modern day are shitty ass cut up movies on the plane. And when I say cut up, I mean like I tried watching Logan, which is a very good movie, I thought. I tried watching it again on the plane. They cut out like all the violence. It's like,
I mean,
all right, so
it
what's the point of this
depends.
movie?
It depends what kind of movie you watch, I guess, because I think some of them they edit a lot more than others, but
Yeah. And then it
largely,
also
at
depends on
least
the
in,
airline, what they
of
edit.
course, right?
Like I
But
love it
I
when I'm
think
watching a movie or a TV show and it has some naked woman and there's a literal 5-year-old kid next to me. Like how is that a thing?
okay, so because of what I said before, that I don't care so much about like the perfect visuals, with the exception that I mentioned that I've had. To me, if the story is intact, I don't lose that much from watching a movie on the plane with earbuds compared to watching it in the cinema. It's still better, of course, to watch it in the cinema. There's more immersion, there's better image or
Mm-hmm.
whatever. But I feel like I lose less than you probably do from watching a movie on a plane. So I don't think it's that terrible.
I
And a lot of
mean,
the stuff I've watched have been pretty good, actually. It's not like
that's
necessarily
because
these.
you haven't watched anything. What do you mean? Of course. They're going to put only good movies on there. They're going to be slightly edited, and they're going to cater to people like you that literally don't watch movies. All right? You're making me very angry. You haven't seen good movies. You're ruining your life, syndereN, for
Dude, I
God's
think
sake.
I'm sure plenty of the movies I've watched on planes you will actually like or think are good.
Because I've
I'm
seen
sure.
most
I'm sure.
movies at this point. I've seen so many fucking movies.
That
Of
doesn't mean
course.
you like them.
I feel like I like most movies I watch. So this is the thing. After it's just like eating lots of food, becoming really fat, right? You know what to avoid, okay? And if you have IBS like me, you know what foods to avoid, even though I still eat them anyway. I know what I'm getting into. With movies, it's kind of the same thing. I've watched so many movies, I pretty much 98% of the time know if I'm going to like a movie or not. So if I see a preview, I'm like, all right, 98% of the time I will be correct whether I will like this movie. There's the occasional
can we-
anomaly, but that's about
Can
it.
we just say that previews of movies have gone to shit compared to like 15 years ago? They show way too much of the story.
They always
in
showed way too
trailers and
much.
shit.
What do you mean? They always did.
In the past, it has got a lot worse. In the last like 10 to 15 years,
I mean,
I
guess
guarantee
it's
you, I'm
gotten a
not the
little bit
only one
worse.
who will say this.
I mean, yeah, I agree.
For
Trailers
sure.
are pretty annoying. They give
show
away the
so
whole
much
story.
of the
My brother
story.
has, for the last 20 years, literally walks out of any room if there's a preview because he doesn't want it spoiled. And then he never watches the movie. It's like, what's the point, dude? You might as well just watch the trailer. That's like watching the movie these
Dude,
days. So.
I should meet that guy. I think we could really enjoy not watching movies together.
Yeah, you guys have some great conversations. Anyway, I want to have a TV show conversation, but it sounds like we need a guest in order to actually have the conversation. You can listen to us rave about great TV shows.
The thing is just my sample size just isn't gonna match yours at all. I think some of the stuff that I've watched that you really liked, we'll probably agree on. You've just watched 10 times as many, so I just can't.
All right, and again,
I'm out
by
of,
next
you're
time,
out of my league, man.
you need to watch that one movie and get back to me. Okay, I expect a full review from everybody that's listening. Needs to have watched that movie by then, and you, syndereN, I want to review next episode. Okay. Sound
I'm
good?
not sure I'm gonna watch it before next episode.
Okay, thanks for coming on. Appreciate it.
Yep, you're
All
welcome.
right, thanks for
I hope
watching.
you get a better guest next time.
Thanks for listening. We are due to get a guest in general, aren't we? We'll figure that out in due
It's
time.
been 10 episodes now. This was the 10th episode.
That's right.
And
we were
what an
supposed to have
anniversary
one-
episode it was.
Yeah, we talked about movies and how worthless you are at watching them. Anyway,
Jesus
thanks for
Christ.
watching. Thanks for listening,
Stay
guys.
mad. Stay mad.
Until next time, Sunsfan and syndereN signing out.
Bye.